essentially asking me to quote unquote revisit this case, and then gave some explanation as to why he was asking to set aside the default. There is a certain standard, Mr. Lafferty, that goes with a motion to set aside the default. We'll discuss that here in a moment. Mr. Groen, what's your position regarding the defendant's request to set the default aside?
Well, as I'm sure the court is going to address, there's a two-prong review system in such circumstances. First prong is good cause, whether good cause is shown why an answer wasn't filed. In reading over Mr. Lafferty's written response, I really didn't see any good cause listed in terms of why, after being personally served on October the 14th, why he did not file an answer. Since the judgment was not issued until mid-December, he got over twice the normal time period in order to file an answer, and he still did not do so. Second prong for such a review is whether there is a meritorious defense to the underlying claim. There is no meritorious defense listed in his written response. Also, his written response does not necessarily align with what's indicated in the credit card statements that Citibank forwarded to us. So I'm looking at the June 2022 statement that had zero balance. And then Mr. Lafferty racked up about $1,500 in charges at the end of May, early June of 2022. The next statement, additional $3,000 charges. So all these charges emanated from 2022 and forward. The last payment Mr. Lafferty made on this account was in September of 2022. The reason that the account was charged off is because he stopped making payments. The account was charged off in May of 22, or May 22nd, 2023, and then we filed this lawsuit shortly thereafter. So based on the totality of the circumstances, there's no good cause shown, no meritorious defense. We ask that the motion be denied and the judgment stand.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes, certainly.
Okay, so that is not 100% correct. Long story short, my wife passed away. It'll be 2 years this 13th of February. Yes, we used that credit card since I think it was 2013 that my wife opened the card, and my wife was the primary. I was the secondary. Did not realize that. She passed away while we were in Nevada. We used that Citibank card that we had had for years when we would make these big trips because of the balance, or the available credit. Long story short, my wife passed away on the 13th of February while we were in Nevada on 22. Yes, I used the card. I used the card to secure my wife's body, to bring her back to Michigan, to pay all of the fees and stuff from hospice and the funeral home there. I did pay the card large amounts. I made a $10,000 payment. I made a $12,000 payment. I was paying the card off. I wasn't neglecting the card at all. Okay. When I got home, I buried my wife. I continued to use the card. I'm not going to deny that. Okay. The problem is that I have is through all of the struggles and things I've learned, because my wife, she was the numbers girl. I was the guy that went out into the field and worked. I did not know who was primary, who was secondary. I didn't even know that mattered until my wife died. And I proceeded to call credit cards to pay her debts and found out that they wouldn't take my money because there was some rule or law that said I wasn't the primary on the card. Whether I was a user or not, they could not accept my money. So long story short, months after she passed, I was at Costco, and I'm sure that this gentleman will see the last transaction on that card, which was at a Costco. I went to Costco. I had gotten some kind of a reward deal. I called Citibank on this reward. I don't lie. The gentleman was asking me questions. I informed him my wife had passed. He immediately shut the card off right there. And all I did was call on a promotion. And that's the truth, no matter what. So the gentleman shut the card off, and his explanation to me was because my wife was the primary and I was a authorized user. So with that being said, I was very frustrated and I'm flat out pissed because I had been paying that card off to go through the process of dealing with my wife's loss, paying bills, keeping lights on, get my son to college, blah, 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 blah. I called back a couple of weeks later just to verify, because of what I had learned, what do I need to do to pay this off? And I was told that they would not take any money from me because I was not the primary. I let it go. As far as what this gentleman said, as far as I did not sign anything, I was not offered anything to sign when I was served. The gentleman showed up in a Ford Ranger in my driveway, handed me paperwork, got in his truck and left, never offered to sign anything or asked me to sign anything. I was in contact with his law firm for weeks on end, was told that this was being looked into, because I explained to them that I was not the primary. I'd attempted to pay the debt. I'd attempted to do what I needed to do to make it right, and no one had ever gotten back to me. So then I received the letter that the judgment had passed, and I was flat out pissed. And I called the law firm back, and I talked to a lady, and just last week, I'd explained to her the whole situation like I just said to you. And I said, I don't understand, because of what I've been told by several other companies and what I have researched, why I'm getting hit with this. So I said, could you please send me something?
You're getting hit with it because you made $22,000 worth of charges on the card after June of 2022. The balance was at zero in June of 2022, several months after your wife died. Now, maybe
Correct.
you charged all those things as funeral expenses of that sort of thing, but you're being hit with it because you charged $22,000 worth of stuff. Mr.
The
Groen, you want to
charges that
speak to that?
the charges that came through.
Stop. I'll give you a chance to speak. Go ahead.
I can't. Number one, the statement that I indicated showing the zero balance, it is Mr. Lafferty's name on the account, not his deceased wife's. This is his account. I see charges as late as November of 2022 for Watson's in Kalamazoo for a $6,500 charge. There was a Central Tile Terrizzo charge, well over $3,000 May and July of 2022. These are all charges made by Mr. Lafferty well after the fact. The statements show his address, his name on the account. And he's
not denying it.
I'm still speaking, and he has not denied that he's the one making these charges.
And that's just it. But what I am denying is the fact that your company, when I called to make an attempt to pay the debt, shut me down. I am not the primary on that card. Citibank has told me that. The reason they shut that card off, don't tell me no, because I have this in on the phone call. I called to make a request because of a thing that I got through Costco. And those dates you're talking about, yeah, those are prior to the card being shut off. Okay. And I was using the card because I assumed it was mine. I did not know.
It was yours.
No, it was ours. It was mine and my wife's. Okay.
Well,
so
those weren't unauthorized charges. There's no fraud involved.
No, not. And I'm not denying that I used the card for that. Okay. I'm not at all, Your Honor. That is not what I'm saying. Okay. What I'm saying is when the card was shut off, and I'm sure that gentleman can tell you.
One of the problems, we're not under oath. I called somebody and talked to somebody whose name I don't know on an uncertain date, and they told me something, which is all hearsay. But Mr. Groen, do you have any notes in your file that the defendant discussed the matter with anyone from this firm?
I see a call after the judgment was entered. I see notes on December the 19th that he called and offered to pay this, but also informed the collector that his wife passed away and that he was only a authorized user and that this was not his account. So
No,
at that
sir.
point in time,
No, that is incorrect. 110%. What I was told is the card was shut off. I didn't ask him to shut the card off. So just hear me.
the card was
Just hear me out.
charged off.
It's my turn. Okay. I called. They shut your client shut the card off. I didn't ask him to shut it off. And it wasn't shut off because of lack of payment. It wasn't shut off because I was behind. It was shut off because my wife was the primary and she had passed. That was what they told me.
That's not accurate.
So why was the card shut off then?
All right, well,
What can
just
you-
stop. You haven't met the standard to set aside the default. There's no good cause shown as to why you didn't answer the matter in a timely manner. You've acknowledged that you were personally served. Well more
I
than
was
21
in talks
days
with
after
them.
before the judgment entered. And there is no meritorious defense. You made these charges well after your wife died as an authorized user of the card, and they're owed. You
Right,
want an
and I'm not
opportunity to
denying
pay it,
that.
you can pay it. So the
But that's
motion
where
to set
I'm
aside
upset
the
because
default-
I tried to work with them, Your Honor. That's what I'm saying. In between the time I was served and the judgment was sent to me, I had been in talks with a law firm, and these people were telling me they were looking into this because my wife was the primary. They don't know why I was getting served paperwork. They don't know why I'm getting the bill. And then in between the time I was served and the time I got the judgment, I had been playing phone tag with this law firm to get answers because I called the court. They said, we suggest if you can, you call them and see if you can settle it before it goes to
Well, you
court.
can discuss settling it now, but you owe this money. These charges were made. You made them.
I never denied that.
Stop. There's no meritorious defense. Now, you got sued. You didn't answer the lawsuit. About 42 days passed and a default judgment entered. On the very last day, you wrote a letter asking the court to reconsider it, which I considered as a motion to set aside the default. And there's a standard for that. Now, I don't expect you to know this. You're a layperson and you don't practice law, but I'm bound by it. It has to show there was good cause for failing to file an answer, which I don't find. And two, that there's a meritorious defense. There is no meritorious defense. You acknowledge that you made the charges. So I'm going to do an order denying your motion to set aside the default, and the judgment stands. Now, you can contact the law firm at this point and see if you can negotiate some sort of payment schedule or get something to compromise this debt. But this is your debt.
You're correct. And while we're on here right now, and this is on record,
Yes,
because
sir.
I've done this on the phone with this gentleman here, I have told these people, even before we got to this point, what do I need to do? I'll set up a payment plan. I'll do whatever. I was going against the judgment because I didn't want it on my credit. It's not that I didn't want to pay it. I don't want it on my credit because they instantly went right to my credit and I got a $22,000 judgment against me. I have made, and I'm sure if Brian wants to go back and get all the recordings, I have made the calls, asked the questions. I have not denied not making the charges. I have gone through the process and was told what to wait on and what to do by his client or by his law firm, excuse me. Hence the reason, I went to the last minute. I just received a packet from them last week that I requested over a month ago. So I understand dragging feet and taking time and busy, but I have done my part. I don't deny making the charges, and I haven't, and I won't. That's not the point. The point is I was trying to get resolution as to what I needed to do to avoid getting it on my credit. all that's according to their law firm and the number you call, it's all recorded. So it's not like I just let it go. That's what's upsetting me. I have made all, I mean, if you look at the
Well, let me ask you this. How many times did you talk to their law firm by telephone?
before the judgment, several,
How many is several?
at least 5 or 6 times. I talked to 3 or 4 different people, and they were looking into the fact that they couldn't, the people that I was talking to, that is in reference to the phone number, the debt collection portion, they couldn't understand why I was getting all of this stuff from the law firm and all of this stuff from Citibank when my wife was the primary. And I told them, I said, look, I was using the card, I was paying on the card up until it was shut off. And then they wouldn't take my money.
All right.
That's the point.
Well, they'll take it now. Mr. Groen, can you see when the last payment was ever made on this card?
It was September of 2022. He was making that large payment, that $6,000 purchase, I mean, was a couple months after the last payment. And that explains why the card was charged off, is because he had stopped making payments, and it was well
That
over
is
the
not correct.
credit limit.
That is 100%.
Well, my order stands, Mr. Lafferty.
We sent you the statements, and they'll have them on there.
The card was paid every month. I got a bill. The card was shut off. You can get upset all you want.
All right, well, there's no need to get upset. I've ruled against you. The motion to set aside the default is denied. You owe the debt. You can call the law firm and see if you can set up some sort of payment plan or otherwise resolve this, but it is on your credit. And again, nobody was under oath, but your version and his version don't match.
At all.
And many of these charges were made months after your wife passed away. And
Yeah, I thought it was
fraudulent. You were authorized to use the card and they shut it off because payment had been stopped. So you'll get a copy of that order. You do have the right to appeal it.
okay, and that's fine. It was not shut
Thank
off.
you. All right, Mr. Groen, I got other fish to fry here. We got behind right off the bat.
Good luck to you, Your Honor. I appreciate it.
I will do the order denying the motion to set aside the default.